You also talk frequently about welfare reform in the 1960s.
We are often told to know our history. If there's any part of black history that has gotten lost, and not because anyone is suppressing it, but because it was easy to miss, it's that one of the most significant things, in my opinion, that did in poor black communities in the 1960s was not that factory jobs moved away, which is what many people think. Because what that means is that when the jobs move far away, black people have so little resilience that they just can't find jobs anywhere else. And the fact that immigrants, including black ones, were coming into the country at exactly that time and making a living and providing a middle-class background for their kids shows that there was something. And so I think we're insulting black America by supposing that it was just the manufacturing jobs leaving. And I've argued that in detail. I think that the problem was that, particularly in the late 60s, there was a new kind of welfare. It used to be that welfare was something you were probably on for a short time. They didn't want anybody staying on it for very long. You barely got by, and it was hard to get it. It was particularly hard for black people to get it. And so if you think about whatever your source is for what the black American past was like, the idea of whole neighborhoods where it was ordinary to be on the welfare, as they used to call it, didn't exist because that just couldn't happen. Nobody would have ever even thought of it. And in the 60s, the welfare laws were changed, and it was done out of a sense that this was a way that would genuinely help poor black people. There was also an extent to which it was considered a kind of riot insurance to ensure that there wouldn't be more of the long, hot summer riots. And it became easier to get on welfare. Nobody got rich on it, so it wasn't a matter of it being these payments, but it allowed you to get by. Nobody checked to see how you were taking care of your kids, and more to the point, nobody cared whether you ever got a job. And so as a result, you had not just a safety net, but you had programs that unfortunately, I think, created a new lifestyle. Not everybody did this, but enough people did it and ended up getting stuck with it. It ended up being a hard cycle to get out of, that I think it changed black communities. And so many people look at, say, a black inner city in the 1990s, and then they think about what the black inner city was like in the 1920s, which was no picnic at all, but not the way it was in the 90s, not with the complete community breakdown, not with it being considered normal for an able-bodied man to not work a 40-hour a week job. And they say, well, just everybody went crazy. I'd like to know more than that. And so some people say, well, the difference is that there wasn't a factory job downtown. But then there are like Ethiopian immigrants driving their cabs through the same neighborhoods. So clearly, and that's not to slam people, but there must have been something else that created that difference. And you look at these welfare laws, which didn't exist until a certain time, and it is right after those laws became instituted that suddenly you get this new situation where black unemployment stops tracking with employment opportunity in the state of the economy. All of a sudden, black employment just stays low. And a lot of people, it's interesting, winning the race, I think, has only been engaged so much because it's too long. And a book can only do so much. And I've made the welfare point elsewhere. I don't think most people are aware of this. And when I discuss it with some people, they say that I am overstating its impact. But to be honest, at this point, no one has been able to tell me why. I get the feeling that in some quarters, there is a reluctance to want to engage with that thesis that I'm putting forth. And I'm not the first person to put it forth, out of a sense that one is doing one's duty as a moral actor in this society to point to racism. And it's hard to say that the expansion of welfare laws was racism. But I really think, looking at it from as scientific a perspective as I can, that that was the major factor. Now, of course, you can point to some other things, but if those laws had not been changed, I think that we would see a very different situation in the black community. And just to get in, those laws were changed back into what I think of as a wonderful and functional safety net. You get 5 years in job training in '96. So that welfare is now 12 years in the past. But it reigned for 30 years, and I think that it was truly a disaster for poor black communities.